everyone. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper, and welcome back to Build. The Facebook Watch series, Sorry for Your Loss, follows a woman named Lee who is struggling to rebuild after the sudden death of her husband. In season 2, we see Lee and her family making big changes in an effort to move forward. Elizabeth Olsen joins us today to talk about the show, but first, here's a clip.
Will you cut my hair?
Why?
It's been 6 months since Matt died, and that's like 3 inches of grief hair. And I don't want it on my head anymore. Why are we trying to be okay on the outside when there is a nuclear holocaust happening on the inside?
You occasionally use affection as a barrier to self-exploration.
To having sex, people would judge you for. Cheers. I can only see the hole Matt left and not the people standing around it.
You are so selfish. You make everything about yourself. But it's my first Christmas without Matt and my first Christmas sober.
How hard that must be for you.
Maybe I should just go.
Maybe you should.
When will you be back?
I'm not sure I'm coming back. You need to get that?
No.
Annie, Matt would hate it if he knew you were never going to speak to me ever again.
I don't want to hear you talk about what Matt would have or wouldn't have wanted when we both know he wouldn't want any of this. The person who made us in-laws is dead.
I don't know what's going on.
I do. He's in love with you, and he feels appropriately terrible.
It's normal to lose some of that connection as you move forward.
Is there a way you can make your mind dream about someone?
But if you want to see him, you're gonna have to find him on his plane.
Let's do this.
Matt's comic comes out
Tomorrow.
We made his dream come true.
I want to see him. I just want to touch him. This is my life, and I'm going to do things that make me feel good. Is it so hard to just say, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I am so sorry.
Put your hands together for Elizabeth Olsen. How you doing today?
I'm really good.
You're bringing in like a very nice energy. I love it.
Calm, maybe?
Yeah, very calm and
Yeah.
peaceful and light. Is that
That's
how you're feeling?
good. I
Yeah.
feel good. Yeah, I feel pretty calm. We've just been like running around a bit today, but I get excited getting to talk about Sorry for Your Loss because I feel like it's something that is a word of mouth kind of show to get around. And so I'm always like excited to talk about it. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
And I mean, season 2, that's such a huge thing these days. I feel like there's so many shows and it's hard to get a second season. What does it feel that you guys have now another season to explore these characters and their grief journey?
With this season, we wanted to challenge ourselves and not feel like, because we luckily got really great responses from critics season 1. But I do believe that when you get a second season, you have an opportunity to change up the narrative a bit. And we do that. We have the device of flashbacks and memories in our show, so we could use it in a different way this season. And we use it from Danny, my brother-in-law's point of view. And I feel like that's really helpful in understanding the man that everyone lost, as well as Danny as a character and his anger and his frustration. So I feel like season 2, we really got to round out our characters, everyone's character, like quite a bit more.
That timing with Danny, too, feels really perfect based on where we left you guys last season and that sort of like, will they, won't they, is there. So where do we pick up with that storyline? Because I do love that we do get to see things from his point of view now more.
Where we pick up with that storyline specifically in the first few episodes is Lee, my character, wants a connection with him, which is like kind of manipulative after the voicemail she hears at the end of the first season. But she does want to continue a friendship with him and just to at least be aware or know that he's okay and that he's fine. And that's something that he's not emotionally ready for, and she pushes it and pushes it. And that's the first half of our second season.
The whole show really is this push and pull with these characters of like them wanting to let go and doing things to let go, but then also doing things to bring him back. And it is so beautiful and painful to watch, but it is also, there's like this lightness too that keeps it, you know, watchable, because if it was just pure grief, it would probably be hard. So what kind of conversations do you guys have about keeping that balance, like making sure that there is humor interjected sometimes?
We always try and find the humor in the writing. Kit Steinkellner, our writer-creator, she naturally writes with a sense of humor. And I think the thing that we really try and maximize is like some of the absurdity in grief or the absurdity in tragedy. And I think that's when you can find like the best moments of humor, when you don't know if you're supposed to laugh or cry. And I think we always try and ride that line a bit. And our like darkest moments of the show is to also at least push it in direction where there's an absurdity quality where you could laugh at it.
I forget who told me this, but I think it's like the same muscle you use to laugh that you do to cry.
Oh,
so sometimes
I didn't
like
know that.
getting a little laughter opens you up to really feel the emotion of the dramatic moments, which is what I feel with this show often. Like I'm in like a good place and then something hits, but I'm like, ooh, all right.
That's how I felt watching Joker. Oh yeah. All the laughing, and I was just like, is he laughing or is he crying? Is he laughing or is he crying? I think it's both.
I do love Lee for so many reasons, but one is just I do think she really wants to move on and she's trying so hard. And so how did you approach her differently in second season than maybe you did the beginning of first season?
Yeah, the beginning of second season, it was really important to me because I felt like in season one, because of our lack of time in the writer's room, and really knowing where we were going, I was creating arcs for each episode. And we had the time and the luxury of planning for the second season where I could try and create more of an arc throughout a season. And so really wanted to start off the beginning of the second season where she is making changes. She is trying to, like we literally say in the show, do things that make her feel good. Like dating again, but not really dating, just like sex, and not going to grief group because it makes her feel bad, and just trying to get more work opportunities and move forward in that way. And that's where I thought it would make more sense for us to start her in this kind of propulsive, more energetic place, because we hadn't seen that part of her yet. And then it's always just like a better place to fall from.
So you're building it up and like, oh, she's feeling confident, she's feeling like herself, and she's trying new things. And then I'm like, what's on the backside?
Yeah, there always has to be a backside, but at least like we could carve that out throughout this season, which was really nice to have the time to do that.
I love in the first season, you know, a lot of grief for people is expanding their spiritual world and understanding, you know, the afterlife. And so in the first season, we touch on that a little bit with the psychic. Yeah. In the second season, there's like a little hallucinating moment. Yeah. Why was that something that you guys wanted to add in, or that it was important to explore? Because that episode 1 is really beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like with... we were trying to figure out if this character, if her issue right now is that she feels like she's losing touch with the tangible memory of her dead husband, and she doesn't know how to access visiting him or him visiting her. What would something that would be really funny, but also like honest, that her mom would help her with? And we thought, like DMT, an hallucinogenic drug, because it seemed like PC enough because it's not like it like lasts 10 minutes.
Not crack.
Yeah, it's not like something like, it's not crack. Exactly. So we thought that it was like PC enough for the audience, but also just something that would be her access point to him. And she doesn't have many access points to him and his memory. And that's something that we were inspired by since the beginning, is how tangible someone's memory is and what happens to our memory when someone gets further away, how they become like a romantic, hazy memory and not like a gross, smelly, specific memory anymore. And so I think that's going to be, if we were to do a third season, we would continue to play with memory and continue to play with flashback and in those kinds of subjective ways.
Yeah, because that's where the emotion comes from, is because she's so afraid of losing him, even though he's gone. You know, there's those, like you said, the things that feel really tangible are further away.
Right.
Which is, I mean, you play that so beautifully. That episode 2 has that scene in the white room.
Yeah.
Was that like a
The
special?
spaceship?
Yeah. Was that like a special day of filming? It just is really stunning and shocking and beautiful.
Yeah, it was. That was such a crazy day just because it was a Friday and we were supposed to wrap at like 1 a.m. We wrapped at 4 and we filmed it at the end and it was already so wacky. So that was just like, that felt like a drug thing anyway. Like I felt like I was hallucinating by the end of it. But yeah, that was a beautiful set that that our production designer built and our DP Adam also conceptualized together. And it's so starkly different from the rest of our show, which is very warm and cool. And we have lots of like beautiful, cozy colors. And just to have the stark white is something that we didn't, just to differentiate the two worlds, just like visually it was really fun to play with.
And just it being this sort of dreamlike state, that's one reason I love this show is because of the tonal shifts it can make, whether it's being humorous or more dramatic, or here we are in this sort of dreamlike space, but it didn't feel out of character. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's like a real skill set that the show has, I think.
Yeah, I think we have really strong heads of department all around. We did first season. We had to change some for scheduling reasons second season, but I really have been proud of the crew we've been able to bring together for both seasons.
So you're an executive producer on this project, and I want to know how, again, you approached season 2 differently than season 1. What was sort of some of the things you learned? Because I watched your old interview, and you're like, yeah, it was an intense 4 months, and I'm kind of still coming out of it.
It was 10 months the first season.
Oh, geez.
It was January to we finished post-production in October. I was doing press while we were still in post. We're still a bit in post right now, but we've really oiled the machine quite a bit. And last year was super intense for all of us. And I think there's 6 EPs on our show, and 5 of us are creative EPs. And so that it's not like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It was more just we were learning how we all communicate and what are the phases that everything goes through. And we really figured that out second season. And Kit Steinkellner, the creator, she and I, we basically, when we found out we were getting a second season, we sat down for lunch and we went through everything that worked for us last year and everything that didn't work for us last year, was like honestly as we could, which is sometimes really uncomfortable. And credit to her, we did it. And we just made those changes, and we had a really healthy experience the second season, and it was a much calmer, steady experience with all the other creative issues that come up along the way. But it was so nice to learn from that so quickly.
Yeah, because that position is you're constantly putting out fires anyway.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's really amazing that you guys could sit down and actually address the issues maybe a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah. And so then we created a whole new system that was just seamless, and it really felt great. And this season's post-production, I ducked out a little early because last time I didn't have a job to go to, and I do now. And so I was just like, you guys, this is hard for me to do this, but I'm going to peace out and I'm going to clear my head because I have to give just as much attention to the next thing, which is so hard to do. But I really felt like we all know what we want to do as a team now, where you feel comfortable being able to say, you got the last 2.
Has this experience encouraged you to produce more and star more, at the same time, or maybe split them up next time and do them individually?
I don't know. I think the thing that I really wanted as a producer on a set was lead by example of how you should treat people. And my favorite sets I've been on, the number 1 on the call sheet did that. Or if the director were the more top dog, the director did that. It depends on what sets you're on, whether the director's more in control than the top actor, or who sets the tone. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone felt collaborative and that everyone felt like they were being treated with respect, across the board, doesn't matter what position you're in. And that to me is a really exciting place of leadership to be in. And that's what I really love about the combination of being an actor and producing at the same time. And there's just there's a way that you can lay down the rules of how you should communicate to people. And that's something that I feel like we have always had really nice sets because of it. not like just crediting me. We also work with nice people, but I do like having that influence on it. But I want to produce more for sure. There's a bunch of stuff in like the animation land that I'm also curious.
Animation.
Yeah.
Really? What about animation is interesting to you?
The limitlessness of it. Like I think the humor, and I really like the children's area right now. Yeah. So that's what I'm curious about, because I feel like I grew up, I bet we're similar ages, but we grew up with like 90s children's television.
Rugrats.
Yeah,
Recess,
and so fun and funny, and like still today so funny. And I feel like we've like just dumbed down like children's TV and like made it less clever for adults, and like we've completely PC'd like everything. And so I'm just curious, like how do you infuse that with a different point of view, or a point of view from the generation that's now having kids?
Yeah. I love that, because we do have like Big Mouth, which is complete adult animation, and then we have like Puppy Pals.
Yeah.
Or Rescue Pals, or whatever you guys know.
And there's
nothing in the middle.
There's
really.
not much in the middle, and so it's something that it's a space that I know nothing about, and I'm like trying to figure out which way I'm getting in.
You have so much going on. You mentioned the other projects that you had to kind of duck away and pay your attention to. I assume you're talking about the Marvel universe and.
Assume away. I literally was told at D23 I can't even talk about when I'm filming it. So. Yeah,
it's a super secretive world. I want to know first, how has your life changed since being in the Avengers movies? And obviously now you have the Wanda coming out.
Yeah, WandaVision.
WandaVision. I keep saying WandaVerse. WandaVision coming out.
That sounds cool too.
I know, because it's like
the
Marvel Universe. And,
yeah.
So how do you deal with all that extra sort of fandom and attention that comes along?
You know, I feel like the people I always meet along the way, whether I'm like in the grocery store or at the airport or something, I feel like people are really kind and respectful, and I appreciate people that we make the movies for fans. That's who they're for. They're not for critics. They're for fans. And the longer I'm a part of the Marvel family, because it's about 5 years now, the more I really get it. And especially with WandaVision, I'm just so excited for fans, because if they know anything about the Scarlet Witch in the comics, I think this show will just get them so excited.
But I think that's what is exciting, is that people want to get her full backstory and have and live in that space, and that's what this show will do.
The show will explore why she's known as Scarlet Witch and how she is Scarlet Witch, as opposed to Wanda. We've always referred to her as Wanda in our films. So it's an exciting opportunity.
I like how slowly you started speaking.
Well, because then I was thinking, because Kevin Feige, when we were teasing it at Comic-Con for the first time, he was like, say a sentence about how people are going to discover that through this show, they'll finally learn Scarlet Witch and why she's called Scarlet Witch. And I was like, okay. And then I got on stage and I was like, we'll see Wanda as Scarlet Witch. Like, didn't know. I was so intimidated by the 8,000 people. I like totally blew it. Yeah.
And you got to get it right with the Marvel.
Yeah, so now I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, so maybe I can continue to say what Feige wanted me to say to begin with. Maybe that's a safe thing.
It sounded good.
Okay.
And you get to work with Paul Bettany.
Bettany, yeah.
Bettany, yeah. So I know you guys have a really close working relationship.
Yeah.
What is it like to be on set and
I'm just so excited to play. He and I have a lot of fun together, and we both have a really strong work ethic. We're the people who, like, a week before like a scene, we're like, hey, do you want to run lines for next week? And everyone's like, I don't know those lines yet. And Paul and I are like, I do. Like, let's run lines for next week. And so I think it's going to be a great crew. We have Catherine Hahn is also a part of it. Yeah, Kat Dennings. It's a really fun group of people, and I'm excited. Yeah.
How important is it for you to keep diversifying in the way that you are? Because going from something like Sorry for Your Loss to the WandaVision, I mean, those couldn't be more different worlds.
I just feel like they've been my only worlds for 2 years now. And so I'm like really excited to have, I think I live in Marvel land for about a year, and then I would really love to find some independent films that have a beginning and an end, within maybe like a 5 to 6 week period and not a 10-month period. I really do miss that kind of finite filmmaking and storytelling. So I miss that, and I really am thinking about going back to theater because it's been a while. I didn't have the greatest first experience, but I would love to go back, and it's what I went to school for, and it's something that I'm so scared to do, and I would love to go back to.
I would love to see you in theater. I mean, especially right now, there's so many amazing shows in New York,
Yeah.
on and off. I mean, the public theater is doing so much great stuff.
Yeah.
Is that the sort of, what kind of theater would you be interested in going for?
I think it just depends on the playwright. I don't like, to me, I always find non-traditional storytelling and form to be the most exciting in theater. I went to school in Moscow for a semester, and that was like the most magical theater and storytelling experience I've ever had. Like, there's no linear storytelling, and you'll watch a Chekhov play backwards where a character shoots himself at the end of every scene, and it's absurdist humor, and it was just fascinating the way they manipulated stories and direction and in order to inform how they tell a story. And so I'd be willing to, kind of do anything. Whatever's the point you're trying to make, it just has to inform. I mean, to do anything just for like a basic story isn't worth it, but to really be informed by the form and allow it to impact the playwright and the writing, I think would be really fun.
I can see that in your kind of filmography past. The projects you choose seem very intentional. Is there a story or a theme or a narrative that you haven't had the chance to explore yet that you would be excited to explore in the future, whether it's on stage or on screen or in the movies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get older, honestly. I feel like I've always been, like, I've gone through my 20s and I have felt like, I can't wait till I get to this age so that I can play these types of roles. And I mean, some of the roles in theater I've always wanted to play are matriarchs of families with like grown-ass sons. So, so I still have to wait to play those parts. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the new. I mean, we're opening so many doors right now. From like whose voices are the ones telling the stories and writing. And so I'm really excited to see what comes out of that. But I don't like I think I would like always love to do a Western. I would always love to like those kinds of things are like romantic as an actor to me. But like as when it comes to actual like stories, if it's something that I've read that's tangible, I'm going to try and get it made. And there are a couple of those, but it's all just like kind of a waiting game and trying to get the right people together. And
Producing is a long process,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So there are a couple, things I'm trying to figure out for later.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see it, but you got a lot going on right now. So congrats on everything. We do have a couple of questions before we get out of here. Who do we have first? Right here.
Hi,
Hey.
My name is V. Before I ask my question, I actually want to say it to you. Last year, me and my sister passed you in Brooklyn, and I froze up. And it's been bugging me for a year for not saying hi to you. So hi.
Hi.
And my question is, you didn't have social media for a while.
Yeah.
And it became really hard for us to communicate with you, to kind of voice our thoughts. And now you do have Instagram, and it's been helpful for us to talk to.
Oh, fun.
And now I also noticed that you've been going to conventions, and you once said that it made you nervous to go to conventions. So my question is, how has it been opening a door that's like uncomfortable for you for a time?
Yeah.
And then has it been helpful, or has it been more restricting in terms of just like your privacy? And
I think with the social media of it all, it was kind of like an experiment for me to do it. I've just finished filming Ingrid Goes West, which is social media gone all sorts of wrong, and I was curious about it from like treating myself as a business point of view, and I still don't know how I feel about Instagram. I think it's distracting and something I would rather have my brain choose more specifically the content I want to ingest. And so I do feel like it's not going to last much longer. I'm sorry. But what I do have to say about the conventions is that's been one of the most amazing learning experience for me, going to, I think I've gone to like 4 or 5 or something. And I was totally nervous, and they were like, it was kind of like a scary concept, like being one person with like lines of people, and like they want to meet you, and that was like a weird feeling for me, because that's not how I think of myself at all. And what I learned from them is that these conventions, it's the way I even think about grief. Like, grief is such an isolating experience. And with our show, people have been able to connect on the Facebook platform about our show, and it's no longer isolating because they've found a community. And that's how I feel about with the conventions. Like, all these people from all around the world love this one thing, and then they go to these conventions and they're in a world where everyone's there for the same thing, and it's their community. And I've found something just so beautiful in that, and I don't find them uncomfortable anymore. I like really do enjoy that kind of community they provide.
Your feelings about Instagram make sense because I looked at your Instagram and you don't follow anyone.
Well, yeah, I did that. I did that because I started liking it too much, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" Like, I would watch pottery videos. I would watch. Yeah, there's amazing.
Really fulfilling.
Yeah, and I'd look at so many interior designers, and it just like, it was just taking up too much brain. Like, that being an impulse was just so weird to me that it was something I never needed. And then I tricked my brain into needing it. And I was like, no, you will not win. And I'm going to unfollow every one of you, including my closest friends in the universe. And I just like got rid of it so that at least now I can try and be a little bit more specific with how I spend my time, you know, whatever it was, like waiting for a bathroom or something.
This is very real. There's that whole feature where you can see how much time you're spending on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's wildly disturbing.
Yeah, I got 14 minutes the other day. That was my daily average, and I am proudly wearing that.
That is not my average. So, wow, congratulations.
But that's
I'm
because
so
you have
proud.
to unfollow everyone.
I can't.
No.
But I would imagine for you, that's crucial. I can't imagine you trying to sit down and memorize a script, but like having that urge to every 2 minutes pick up your phone.
Oh my God, there's so many emails I need to be responding to that I just forget about because my brain's occupied with something that isn't going to help me in the end. It's going to make me feel bad about myself.
You have inspired me. I'll see if I can just pull. I need to get it down to like maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll start there.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. Who has the last question?
Hi.
Hey.
So you've now, with Lee and Wanda, you've gotten, as an actor, the chance to go back to these characters and play them and explore them further. I was wondering if in your whole filmography, if you could go and pick someone else, maybe a Taylor or a Martha, is there anything else you'd like to play again?
That's such a great question. I've always wanted like a 10 years from Martha, Marcy May, Marlene, like doing that in 10 years. I just think that there could be a really beautiful story there. And I would say that would be the main one I would think about. That would be something I've always wanted to go back and explore. I also felt like that experience filming that, because it was like my first job, and I think that's one of the reasons why I was cast in it, because I was really unaware of myself on screen or how to work for camera. And I think that awkwardness was something that the director saw in me. I don't know if it's good or bad, but there's such an innocence to that experience. You were making something for making it, not knowing what happens to a movie after, not knowing that it goes through festivals or buyers, and there's such a freedom to it. And I've always wanted that experience back, but I don't know if you can do that once you poison the well. But I've always wanted to go back to that feeling of like no consequence. So I would say that one. That is such a funny shirt. I just looked down.
It was a gift. And
Oh my God.
Not today. When am I
That
gonna wear
is
it?
so funny. Who made that?
I don't know. Somebody gave it to me for my birthday.
That's so cool. I wish someone did that with Michelle Pfeiffer for me growing up.
I bet.
Yeah.
I have the same shirt in blue. It's really, I'm happy I didn't wear it. That would have been so uncomfortable.
That's amazing.
On that question, do you watch yourself? Like, do you go back and ever watch? And I know with this project it's different because you're an EP and you have to edit it.
Have I watched myself?
Yeah.
I'm so over
but
watching
this project
myself.
aside, do you ever go back and,
No.
No.
No, I think I might have been curious about Martha once, but that was many, many years ago. And I think, I don't know. There's something, when I do watch myself, it'll be like 1 or 2 times, depending on how many screenings I'll sit through. And I have notes for myself every time. So I find it helpful to watch myself. I don't like watching myself for the first time in a screening with like all these other people watching it for the first time. I cannot focus. But then the second time around, I usually can at least like watch it like almost like to try and learn from it. Because I feel like when you start working, you're like, oh wait, I thought I was doing so many other things, and I was so bland and boring, and like there's just all those kinds of nuances that I like to critique.
Well, I can't say that I've ever seen you be bland or boring.
Some people use the word understated, and I think that's a euphemism.
You're like, is that a backhanded compliment?
Understated or just boring? I'm not sure.
I think you have a presence on camera that is very welcoming and warm and emotional. And you can see that all in Sorry for Your Loss. I really do enjoy the show.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see it back for a second season.
Thanks.
And good luck with everything in the Marvel Universe and forward and beyond.
Thank you.
If you guys want to check out season 2 of Sorry for Your Loss, is streaming now on Facebook Watch. Put your hands together for Elizabeth Olsen.
Thanks for having me.